You have higher faculties. These higher faculties, most people know little about. You have perception, the will, reason, imagination, memory, intuition. These higher faculties are what literally separate us from all the rest of the animal kingdom. All the rest of the little animal kingdom, they're completely at home in their environment. They blend in. You and I are totally disoriented in our environment. That is because we have been given the godlike ability to create our own environment. Charlie Tremendous Jones was a great man, just a phenomenal public speaker. He said that he believes that we're the composite of the books we read and the people we associate with. I'm inclined to agree with him. Well, as you start to listen to Earl and The Strangest Secret, a lot of things started to happen to me, and it changed all kinds of things in my life. Now, there's the two men that both ended up being mentors of mine because I worked with them. I worked very closely with them, but it was as a result of me listening to this recording. I was listening to this recording, and I thought, it would be phenomenal to work with them. Well, it was in 1966. I went to visit them, and I decided I want to work with them. And you see, it was what they would teach me, what Val would teach me, that helped me understand how I had done what I did. You see, Ray Stanford sat down with me, and he put an R on a sheet of paper. Then he put 3 letters down beside it, 2 H's and a W. Now he said, Bob, let the R represent results, and let the 2 H's and a W happiness, health, and wealth. Then he asked me if I thought he was a happy person. I said, yeah, he seemed pretty happy to me. He said, did you ever see me sick? I had to admit I hadn't. He said, did you ever see me when I was broke? I had to admit I hadn't. This guy always had money on him, quite a bit of it. He said, Bob, you're one of the most miserable people I've ever met. Now, this is in 1961. He said, you're always sick. He said, you don't have a terminal illness, but you've always got a cold or a headache or something. And he said, you're always broke. Now, he was so right. I was earning $4,000 a year. I owed $6,000. I want you to think of this. At the time, I had 2 months high school. I had no business experience at all. I was 26. I left school when I was 15. I worked all over the place. I was in the Canadian Navy. I worked in bars and in factories. Always dumb jobs. No wonder I was unhappy, sick, and broke. I studied nothing. I read nothing. He said, do you ever read anything? And I said, no, I can't read. And that's when he introduced me to this book. And he said, Bob, Napoleon Hill studied 500 of the world's most successful people over many, many years. And it was at the counseling of the richest man in the world that he did that, Andrew Carnegie. And he found there was a golden thread running through their life. And he wrote The Laws of Achievement. Now, he wrote those at the request of Andrew Carnegie. Carnegie said it was a shame, like people like himself, who was the wealthiest man in the world, is going to their grave with all his knowledge locked up in their bones. He said nobody's ever organized the laws of achievement. And as a result, most people never achieve very much. He got Hill to do it. Well, after he did it, then this book, Think and Grow Rich, came out of that. And this is what I was really into studying. You know that within a year, my income was at $175,000. And what I would suggest you do is listen very carefully to him. This is a goal card that I have my goal written on. I carry this in my pocket. Every time I put my hand in my pocket and touch that card, the picture that's in my mind flashes on the screen of my mind. I painted the picture in words on the card, and it's tucked into cells in my brain. Well, that's how I went from earning $4,000 to $175,000, and I did it in less than a year. This is no formal education, no business experience. I had no idea what I was doing. In less than 5 years, I was over $1 million a year. If you ask me how I did, I had no idea. I have found out since it was through the repetition of what I'm talking to you about right now. The action of repeating something that has already been said or written. Look at it. Ray said to me, if you read this every day, your life will change. He got me to commit to doing that. I committed I would do it. And God only knows why I've kept that commitment in my 60th year, every day. I don't read a lot of it. I just open and read something. Right here. It's just where I opened it now. Remember, too, that all who succeed in life get off to a bad start. They pass through many heartbreaking struggles before they arrive. The turning point in the lives of those who succeed usually comes at the moment of some crises through which they're introduced to their other selves. Well, 1968, I was their vice president of sales because that is something I wrote on the card. I decided I wanted to work with them. I wanted to work right beside them. And you know, Earl taught me something that is so valuable, and I want to share it with you. He said, you know, Bob, there's an enormous difference between knowledge and experience. Now, I want you to think about that, because when he sat down and explained this to me, and he said, you've got something very strong going for you that we need in our company. He said, you see, Bob, if we read the book, if we understand it, we can talk about what's in it. We have some knowledge. But he said experience is totally different. Experience is when you've done it. So you just don't think this is right information. You know it's the right information. I'd been raised to believe if you don't go to school, you can't get a good job. I hadn't gone to school and I didn't have a good job. I owned the whole company. And so I made up my mind I was going to find out how my life changed. I wanted to know how it changed. And that's where I learned the power of repetition. I was sitting with a lady, Catherine Weishaupt. She's from Germany. She is in Germany. And I was sort of like a review meeting with her. She was a consultant with her company. And Catherine said, I believe success is 5% strategy and is 95% mindset. I had never heard that before. And I looked at her. I just intuitively knew she was right. I knew she was right. You see, it's all about the mind. It's about your marvelous mind. As Van de Waal taught me, he says it's all in awareness, Bob. He said there's a marvelous inner world that exists within us. And the revelation of such a world enables us to do, to attain, to achieve anything we desire within the bounds or limits of nature. Now listen, this is vitally important information. Now, Sandy Gallagher was a securities attorney, very successful one. She became fascinated with what we were teaching. One thing led to another, and Sandy Gallagher became my business partner. I attracted the perfect business partner for me. Now, why am I mentioning this? You've got to become aware that you can and will attract whatever you require to cause whatever picture you're holding in your mind to move into form. It's not an accident. There is a marvelous inner world that exists within us. And the revelation of such a world enables us to do, to attain, to achieve anything we desire within the bounds or limits of nature. When you think of yourself, you've got to have an image. You got to understand the mind is everything in your life. You learn how to work with it. I said, let's look at it this way. There's the mind, and there's a positive sign, the negative sign. I said, that actually represents a law of polarity, the law of opposites. And he said here, a power flowing into your consciousness. And when it flows into your consciousness, you create thoughts. You literally create thoughts from a power that flows into your conscious mind. You can originate thoughts. You can think something that no one has ever thought before. You have a unique ability to do this. It's the thoughts that you think in your conscious mind that you impress upon your subconscious mind that causes you to feel the way you feel. Feeling is conscious awareness of vibration. Those feelings are expressed with and through your physical body. That causes the action which produces a result. Now, getting them all lined up is called attitude. Now, some people line up on the negative side. They're going to see what's wrong. And you know something? They're right. There's something wrong. Other people go on the positive side. They see what's good. And they're right. There's something good. You can find what's right or wrong in anything. Doesn't matter what you're looking at. If you want to find what's wrong with my presentation, just keep looking. Take a pen and pencil because you're going to get busy. Or if you want to look at what's right, look at that. There's a power flowing into our consciousness, and we have the ability to think anything we want to think. And it's the thoughts we think that causes the feelings because we get emotionally involved with them. That causes the body to move into action and produce results. Now, this drawing is without question so valuable and so misunderstood. And he went on to explain more about the conscious mind. He says, that's your thinking mind, Bob. Problem with most people is they don't think. They really don't think. Mental activity never constitutes thinking. I remember when he said that, and I never forgot it. He said, that is your thinking mind. It's also referred to as the educational mind. This is you I'm talking about. Now, as I keep building this idea, you're really going to get to know yourself, the world you live in and the laws that govern your being a lot better. And as you understand yourself a lot better, you're going to find your finances are going to improve, your health is going to improve, your relationships are going to improve, your whole world starts to get better. The educated mind is also referred to sometimes as the intellectual mind. The subconscious mind is your emotional mind. When you're emotionally upset, you've got the wrong ideas being fed into that part of your mind. Now, over here on this side, because you can think, you have the ability to choose. And because you can choose, you can accept or reject everything that comes down the road. You can accept or reject everything, and then you have the ability, you can originate. Now, the subconscious mind doesn't have the ability to do all those things. All those magnificent abilities are in the conscious mind. The subconscious, it must accept whatever you give to it. Must. It has no ability to reject. And get this, it's what you impress upon your subconscious mind that ultimately turns into results in our life. This is where we want to get our imagination going in high gear. Your subconscious mind cannot differentiate between what you've imagined and what's real. It has no ability to differentiate between the two. Unfortunately, most people imagine what's wrong. They think of what they don't want rather than what they do want. Now look here for a moment. Let's take that knowledge and we'll say this is you today. There's information coming at you today, and it is terrible information. And it's flowing into your conscious mind. Now you have the ability to think, you have the ability to reject that. You can say, get out of here. And they all go away. But you know something? Most people don't do that. Want to know what they do? This is what they do. They're not thinking at all. Their subconscious mind is wide open. And that information goes right into the subconscious mind. Remember what we said about the subconscious? It has no ability to reject all that negative information. Why would we leave the mind open like that? It's our paradigm. It's how we're programmed. We're literally programmed to live that way. Who did this? Why did they do this? Well, let's take a look. This is you as an infant. Your subconscious mind was wide open when you arrived on the scene. I don't care what language was spoken around you, that's the language you learned. If there was more than one language spoken around you, you would learn more than one language. You see everything that was going on around you. All the love, the hate, the prejudice, it was all programmed right into your subconscious mind. It's like in the song, a person has to be taught to love and hate.